your computer so you can see
Okay.
it. The light is on.
We could just appoint one of us to be attorney today. We could just appoint one of us to be attorney today.
So when the light is on, the microphone is on,
Okay.
okay?
All right, well, good morning. I'd like to call the Oklahoma City Post-Employment Benefits Trust meeting for February 8th, 2021 to order. The first item for business is to approve the minutes from the November 9, 2020 meeting. Could I get a motion? Got a motion by Laura Johnson, second by me, Madera. Please record your vote. Item passes unanimously. Item 4, presentation of the investment performance report period ending receive the monthly investment flash report as of November 30th and December 31st, 2020. We have Matt Boggs here with us today. Our consultant was unable to make it from Tulsa today. He was looking forward to coming down here. We talked to him last week and he was so excited to be able to get on the turnpike and drive down here, but Mother Nature had other things to do. So With that, we have Matt Boggs, our city treasurer.
Morning around 7:50, and he said I-44 was treacherous on this way down, and so we made the call at that point to cancel the investment committee meeting earlier and just clarify that he would not be able to make it today. So he sends his regards. He wishes that he could be here, but obviously we understand. With this mathematically being the earliest in the month we can have our OPEB meeting, being February 8th, being the second Monday, we did not have the January 31st report in time to make it on the agenda, but Mitchell does have a copy of those that he'll send out to the board that we will receive next month. And so I will spend most of my time on the 12/31 report because the two individual monthly reports will contain some of the same information. And I will probably ask Doug if I ever have to do this for him again to only do it on months that are really good like this. So it's a lot easier to do this on good reports. If you look at page 12, that's where we would start out and note that our total one-year return is 15.9% in the portfolio, which is tremendous, especially considering what it was in March. When we had our pre-meeting, Doug said, could you imagine what I would have done on March 31st if I would have told you, don't worry, because by the end of the year, we'll have a 15.9% gain. That can be emphasized on page 14, where you can show you how dramatic that was. The portfolio ended the year at $84 million, $84.3 million, when at its bottom for the year, just right around March, it was shy of $60 million. So that gain was all made up between April and December of this year. That was really heavily in the equities. You can see that if you go forward a few more pages to page 19 of the report. Because year-to-date and 1 year would be the exact same, I'll just spend my time on the year-to-date column, but note that the total fund was 15.8%. The Hoisington, which is in our our fixed income portfolio, performed extremely well, the 20.19%. And Doug has emphasized those times when the rest of the bond will be performing really well, this one might not. We have this here for stability, and this is a perfect example of why this is in the portfolio. But the strong performance was in our equities, which makes up about 61.7% of the portfolio. Notice that the equities gained 20.71% for the period. Finally, I'm going to direct you to page 47. That's where we have our asset allocation. You will have our target allocation there in the middle, and that's going to be the really important column to pay attention to, just to know, because that's where we have. And right next to that is the differences. And note that the largest difference we have is just 1.4% above the target allocation. So everything is right around the space that we need it. Should we have some more money to invest going forward, Doug will put those in such a way to get that closer in exact balance with what we have it, but it's an acceptable point at year end. Obviously, Doug's going to have most of the answers here, but I would be happy to take any questions that you might have or that I can possibly answer or that I can pass along to Mr. Anderson.
Matt, I'd like to ask on page 47, when you look at Hotchkiss and Stevens Small Cap, we are outside of our policy just a tad on those two, like you mentioned. And can you get with him to find out, where we are as of now, when it's February, and if we need to look at that in our next quarter to maybe make some adjustments?
Absolutely. When we have those January numbers solid, we can take a look and see if that's, because as quickly as the market has moved, sometimes even just the gain can put us back into policy. So we'll definitely be in contact with Doug on that.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? We actually have, we have item 3, which is to receive the flash report. So let's go ahead and, if I could get a motion for that. Moved by Amy Madera, second by Ted Carlton. Please record your vote. And it passes unanimously. The next item, I guess on the presentation, we don't do anything on that one, so, okay. So the next item is item 6, or actually item 5, discussion and consider approval changes in investments as recommended by the investment committee. Since we did not have our investment committee meeting this morning, I would move that can we just defer that, Francis? Would that be okay to defer that, or just want to strike that?
Just no action.
No action will be taken on that, okay? No action on item 5. Item 6, discussion, consider approval of additional asset allocation and changes of portfolio of fund managers as recommended by, again, that one. On that one, we will also not do anything on that one, so we'll move to item 7, acceptance of the interim financial statements for the 6 months of December 31st. And then on 8, we will accept the annual financial report. We have Amy Lucas from Accounting Services here today, and she's going to go over both of these reports for us. Amy?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, trustees, attendees. They actually have the order as the December, me present the December and then the June, but I'm going to present our June audited ones first, since those go back, and then I'll just give a brief update on the published December ones. So if you have your year-end audited financial statement, I am excited to tell you that we received an unmodified opinion on the audit again this year, which is the absolute best that you can ask for. If you would like to read that audit letter in detail, it's actually on page 1 of your report, and that will just give you the detail to that unmodified opinion. So as I'm going to point out the key factors of where we ended June 30, the fiscal year at, if you would turn to page 7, we're just going to hit some of the highlights. We ended the year with a net position of $72.08 million. That's about a $7 million increase from the $64.89 million that we ended the year with in fiscal year 2019. So that's moving in the right direction. That's exactly what we want to do is our net position to increase. If you will turn the page to page 8, I will point out specifically the pieces that made up that increase for the fiscal year. You will notice that our total contributions for the year were $27.66. Our net investment income was $1.78 million. That included the net appreciation, the interest and dividends, less the investment expenses. And then those two increases are offset by our benefits paid of $21.81 million. So that's where the $7 million increase in our net position was primarily made up of. There's one more thing that I think is key that I'd like to point out in the year-end financial, and if you would turn to page 22 with me. Of course, we only get an actuary once a year. And so we had the new actuary when we were putting together this final financial report for the year. And you'll notice that our total OPEB liability, which is based on all of the assumptions that the actuary puts into that number, increased from $491 million to $518 million. But our fiduciary net position increased at a greater percentage, which caused our ratio, which most people refer to it as the funded ratio, from 13.21%, it increased to 13.93%. And so even though the total liability went up quite a bit, the fiduciary net position cut into some of that, and so we still did see a small increase in our funded ratio. So I believe those are the key factors for the fiscal year ending 2020 report. Are there any questions that you have specifically to this report that I could answer? Okay. Then we're going to move on and look at our December 31st report. Kind of hit the same key factors with this one. So if you'll turn to page 5, your statement of planned net position. You will see that the net position is at $88.66 million. That's up about $16 million from $72.12 at December the previous year. You just got done hearing Matt talk about the investments and how well they did in the third and fourth quarter of this last year. So if you turn the page to page 6, we will talk about what makes up that 16 million increase in the net position. The total contributions at December 31st were 12.82. The net appreciation in the fair value of investments was 12.72 million. So like he said, that's pretty incredible considering if we would have thought that was possible at last March. And then those are offset by the benefits paid of the 9.57 million. And so that's where the largest primarily increase in our net position came from. The total liability and funded ratio did not change as of December 31st because, again, we only get that report once a year, and so we won't see those updated numbers until the actuary prints their report for fiscal year 2021. Does anyone have any questions on the December report that I can answer for you this morning? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Amy. So we'll start off with item 7, the acceptance of the interim financial statements for the 6 months ended December 31st. If I could get a motion, please. Motion by Laura Johnson, second by Neil Garrison. Record your vote. And the item passes unanimously. And then the next item is item 8, the acceptance of the annual financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2020. If I could get a motion for that. Motion by Amy, second by Neil. Record your vote. And it passes unanimously. Item 9 are items for individual consideration. We've got one item, which is approved request for proposals for actuarial services. Mr. Boggs.
Yes, it is about that time for us to go out to bid for our actuarial services. I'd like to point out that this is just part of the regular rotation, that we had a contract with 4 renewals, and we're in the final year, and so it's about time to do that. What I would do today is just to give you an idea of what that timeline looks like. There's a packet that you have, and on page 24 of that packet, page 14 of 14 of the RFP, there's a timeline, and so that could give you an idea of what we're looking at. This RFP will go, if it is approved this morning, it will go into BidSync February 10th, 2021 on Wednesday. They would be open until March 17th. That is when the proposals would be due. And then we would then form a committee, an RFP review committee, under the city's purchasing policies and procedures that would go take a look at all of the bids that came in and rank them according to the established criteria. At that point, there would be interviews and clarifications that would happen in the time frame between March and April of 2021. The idea would then be to finalize a contract with the winner between April and June of 2021. And when we have our Monday, August 9th, 2021 meeting of the OPEB Trust, that is when we would then award the contract to the winning bidder. And so this is really pretty standard. I do want to thank Mitchell and Randall Lewis from my office for the work that they put in, because this wasn't simply rolling forward the old one, because if you recall, when we had our last time we went out to bid, we were in the middle of new GASB pronouncements that cover actuarial services. So it really is a different package they put together, and I appreciate the work that they did in putting this together for us. And we could answer any questions that you might have today.
Matt, I have one question. The duration of what's the anticipated duration of this agreement?
It would be a one-year contract with 4 one-year renewals.
4 one-year renewals, okay. Any other questions? All right, well then I would entertain a motion. Motion by Ted, second by Neil. Record your vote. And it passes unanimously. Item 10, ratify the claims listing. For the claims and payroll listings issued November 3rd, 2020 through January 27th, 2021. would entertain a motion. Moved by Laura, second by Neil. Record your vote. Passes unanimously. Now, item 11 are reports, comments from trustees, staff, and interested parties. Amy, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Neil?
No.
Dick? Laura?
I just want to say how much, on a day like today especially, I truly appreciate our retired employees who participate on this trust. You are always important to us, but your commitment on a day like today, getting out and coming in, is it really shows a commitment to this, to our retirees, and I appreciate that very much. I hope that you all are extra safe going home.
Thank you so much.
Ted, do you have anything?
Do not.
All right. Francis, do you have anything? Since this is your last OPEB trust, I've got to work with Francis for 30 years and I've really thoroughly enjoyed it. She's the ultimate gatekeeper and she does a great job and I'm gonna miss her. I'm gonna miss you, but I'll let you introduce your.
Well, yes, it's been a pleasure serving on this trust since its inception. So I will miss you all, but I may be tuning in when we go back to virtual meetings pretty soon. But I would like to introduce Amy Simpson, the new city clerk. She'll be sworn in on Monday the 15th. And Amy will do an outstanding job. And I know she's worked for Brent for, 15 years? Yeah, a long time. So anyway, she is currently the purchasing agent for the city of Oklahoma City and has worked for the city for 27 years. So she has a lot of experience bringing in with her to the position. Thank you, Brent.
You're welcome. Thank you, Francis. With that, being 10:21, we have no other items. We are adjourned.